Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 574. I'm Bryan Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined once again by hockey romance author and soon to be football romance author, sports romance author in general, Katy Archer. Katy, so one of the things you talked about that we'll talk about in this episode, what you talked about last week, just at the time you were writing the Nolan U hockey series, where you had an incredible month that you posted about on Facebook, and just an incredible last year in general, you were at the same time studying Renee Rose's work and the law of attraction and manifestation. I mean, do you feel like where does your perspective on this lie of okay, yes, there's woo-woo components to this that we don't truly understand out in the universe that are helping us, and there's also scientific concepts behind just thinking positively and saying things out loud, and our subconscious brewing with these kinds of changes. If full woo-woo, I don't even believe in that science stuff, was on one side, and it's just the science and the subconscious stuff was on the other, where do you find yourself personally?
Well, I'm quite a spiritual person anyway. I mean, I grew up in a faith-filled family, and so I believe in God and the Holy Spirit and all that kind of stuff. So it's very easy for me to kind of believe that I am a soul being living a human experience on Earth. So that is easy for me to align with. So I guess that's the woo-woo part of it. But then when you look at the science, you're like, oh my gosh, the science and the woo absolutely marry, because it's amazing. And you kind of go, well, wow, I'm not a complete fruitcake. It totally, I love that because I believe that God created the entire universe, and I believe that he created the science and he created the soul, and it just kind of all, for me, this is it. I mean, I've had to let go of some of the stuff that I was raised believing, that's for sure. But then as I've done that, it's made me realize how wide and vast and amazing the universe and God, and I'll just say God because that's what resonates with me, but how amazing all of that is and how it's all connected. The science and everything is connected, and so it's been such a fantastic year. Kind of feel like I've had my eyes opened wide, and it's just been fantastic. So.
I love that. I mean, I grew up in a Jewish household, and we went to synagogue, and I was bar mitzvahed, and we I believe in God, and it's funny because we're kind of letting the kid figure it out on her own, and so she's like, well, I think this and I think this, and it's like, that's awesome. But there are certain things in Judeo-Christian religions that we never talk about this on the show. It's kind of cool. That are meant to keep you small. There are definitely certain things that are meant to keep you small and keep you thinking small, and don't do something out of line or you'll get in trouble. And that thinking is so hard as an adult to shed and to be like, no, I mean, I believe in higher beings, but I also don't believe that I'm a bad person, and I don't believe that I should be small, and I don't believe that it's my lot in life to just fall in line. And that's hard because it's talking about stuff that anything you believe is always hard to shake anyway. Anything that you set in as a belief as a kid is even harder because you don't even remember that you believe it anymore. It's literally just deep inside. And so if you have this belief inside that you don't remember anymore, that you're supposed to be small. And I love how Renee talks about this in her book, Right to Riches. If you have this belief, you need to kind of dig it out.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not
It's
easy.
not, and it takes time. You know how we talked in the last episode about being patient.
Oh,
Like I've
yeah.
been doing this stuff for probably coming up to 18 months now, and
Yeah.
I'm still growing and learning along the way. And there's still so much more to come. I know there is, but that's exciting. But
Yeah.
it takes time to really unroot all of that stuff when you've, like you said, when you've grown up being told certain things as a child, and you're told from your parents or your church leaders, or you know, people that you kind of look up to, and then it becomes like, well, that's just truth. But then as you
Yep.
become an adult and you're like, is it really truth, you know? And you start to realize that we are beautifully created beings and we're worthy just because we breathe. You know, that's
Yeah.
been huge for me, because I spent so much of my life thinking I was this unworthy sinner, you know, saved by
Yeah.
grace and stuff. But actually, I've been created by a God who adores me, and that's all I have to be worthy.
Mhm.
You know, it's very liberating.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree. And it's fun to talk about this stuff because this kind of stuff gets shoved to the corners of like talking about, well, how do you become successful?
Hmm.
And yet it's 50% or more of the battle.
I agree. I think it makes people feel a little bit uncomfortable because they don't understand it, and the unknown is always a bit scary.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh
so it's
yeah.
easy to kind of flick it off because you know, I don't understand that stuff, it doesn't matter. But actually,
Yeah.
if you can be brave enough to dive deep, it's quite amazing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Um we're going to totally change the subject
Okay.
now. Because we don't have a story about that, but we do have an interesting news story about Kickstarter. And so I know that's not till your 2026, 2027 plan, but we're going to
Yep.
still talk about it here. So let's get into it. The Kickstarter plot thickens. Kickstarter has unveiled its latest crowdfunding platform feature, which it calls Pledge Over Time, aka Plot, reports Board Game Wire's Mike Didymus-True. The latest of its, quote, tools creators have been asked for, Pledge Over Time, or Plot, will allow backers to pay their pledge over time. According to Kickstarter, Pledge Over Time allows backers to split their pledge into 4 equal payments. The first charge will occur when the project ends successfully. The remaining 3 are completed every 2 weeks automatically until the pledge total is fully paid. As to payment to the creator, the first will be distributed right away. The next 3 will be combined and sent as a lump sum payment, so conceivably that's 6 weeks or so later. Enabling Pledge Over Time will be optional for creators, and backers will only be able to use the features on pledges totaling £125, euros, dollars, or more. There are no additional fees for using it, no third-party signups or interest-bearing loans. The feature will be fully launched this spring, but has already been rolled out early for several projects. Kickstarter has described Pledge Over Time as a game changer for creators and hopes that the feature will reduce cost barriers to pledging, support backers who need payment flexibility, and raise average pledge amounts. Quote, I hope Plot eliminates the barrier for some people so that they can pledge for the higher tiers they want, said Mike Gnade. I'm sure that's not how that's pronounced, who's already used Kickstarter to successfully fund 15 projects. It would also be great if Plot's payment flexibility reduced the reliance on cheaper pledge levels. End quote. Melissa, I can, or Katy / Melissa / all of your names. So Katy, I can tell you that as a course creator, giving people the flexibility to pay over time has been really helpful. It does come with its caveats, though, because the more payments someone needs to make, the more likely it is they're going to default.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest challenge here. I mean, you've been thinking about Kickstarter. You know, you've got like a lot of irons in the fire between now and then. Like, do you think that this new feature is something that excites you? You're neutral on? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I love anything that makes it easier for readers to gain access to your product, or for people to take a course or whatever, you know, anything that's kind of going to going to help people get access to what you have to offer is good. However, like you said, the flip side is, will you end up getting burned because people default, or, there's not the same level of commitment, I guess, when you can pay off over time. There's a different emotion connected, I think, sometimes when you're paying something off as opposed to paying for something outright, if that makes sense. However, there are several courses that I never would have done if I had to pay the full amount in one go. So you kind of go, well, I can afford to pay $200 a month for 4 months. I don't have 800 spare right now, so I do think that the paying things off is a really good. I do actually think it's good. I think it will be really beneficial to people. How about you? Like, where do you sit on it?
I mean, you reminded me of like this core memory. So you know how I've made a lot of courses over the years. I took a course on creating courses that we split into the 12 payments that I split with 2 other people. And so we were splitting essentially 36 ways, because of the 12 payments and splitting it 3 ways. I was only paying 1/36 of the cost for that. And I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And who knows if I would have gotten to where I am if I hadn't done that. I mean, I definitely think that we'll skip ahead. I'll even answer my hot potatoes of wisdom question because I think it's a good time for it. There are potential downsides to enabling the feature. Some people, if they see there's a payment option, they're going to take it. But you don't know what's going to happen with that person over the next 6 weeks. You don't know if this person who would have had enough money to pay $500 for a fancy leather-bound series, whatever, you don't know that, in 2 weeks, their credit card gets stolen and they never check their emails. And so they only end up paying 1 payment if they have to split it. But they would have had the full amount if they didn't even have the option. So it's definitely one of those things where there are pros, there are cons. The article does go into with defaults how that works and what the ins and outs of it would be, but it's still a risk that you don't have if you don't have it enabled. And so it's like, look, no risk, no reward, right? Maybe you fund significantly higher because this exists, but there are absolute downsides to it. You have to consider.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how it shakes out over these next few months. But let's go back to the woo-woo stuff. So, I feel bad. So many of our co-hosts have had to do a lightning sound. I haven't had to do one. So I'm gonna do a lightning sound. And so, Chikow!
Oh, nice. There's
my Chikow. It's like disco. It's like a little disco, a little bit of Cars, Pixar.
Yes.
So, Katy, how do you think mindset plays into author success?
I think it is huge. I think it, how they talk about like sports is like 90% psychological or something. It's something like that, and actually if you've ever seen the movie Wimbledon, that is a really, really interesting commentary on that concept of the voice in your head. And I think it actually applies to all areas of our life. And as I've dived into this mindset journey, I realized how it is actually huge. Mindset plays a massive part. Because as you start to manifest the things that you want from your author business, you get hit with intuition and you kind of get like sort of thoughts and ideas and guidance. I think that, and if you're brave enough to follow it and go with it, knowing that like it could be a learning opportunity or it could be a huge success, either way it's successful, right? Because you're either learning something that's going to lead to success, or you're succeeding and getting more success. So so I think mindset's huge. And I think they talk about, like, you know how when you buy a new car, or you've got your heart set on getting a particular car, you start to see that car everywhere.
Yep.
And you're like, oh my
yep.
gosh, everyone owns this car that I want, or everyone owns this car that I've just bought. And it's only because your mind is making you aware of it. So as you start to think more positively about your author business and about your books and stuff, you start to see evidence of it. Like, one thing I've started this year is I've just bought a diary, as in like a to-do list diary, but rather than making it that, it's my evidence diary. So every night at bedtime, I've got my goals at the top. I've got, I think it's like, I am a successful author with a growing business, and I'm working my way towards $100,000 per month. Like, that's my goal at the moment. And so every night I'm sitting down and I'm writing down the evidence that shows me that that's true. And it is amazing how easy it is to fill a page. Because I think if you're not looking for it, you don't remember, oh, I got that email from that reader who was like, I was in a reading slump, but I read your book and I loved it. And now I'm excited about reading sports, you know, or you get a 5-star review, or you get a 4-star review, or you get a really nice quote that you can use for marketing. And you don't always maybe notice all that stuff. Even if you're just writing down, I sold 10 books today, or however many books you're wanting to sell. Like, it's just acknowledging your progress and your success. Even if it's small success to start with, it will grow the more you notice it. So I think it's
really
huge.
like the idea of the evidence journal. I really like that. That's so awesome, because it makes me think, you know, so many of us focus on the evidence of the contrary. The like, I would have been okay if it wasn't for that, or you know, that bad thing happened and it ruined my day. And then you don't see, like, oh, well, the cha-ching thing happened on your book report or whatever, and you hit certain numbers. And yeah, I love the idea of the evidence, the evidence of your goals coming into reality.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You've got a question for me.
I do. How has being a little bit woo-woo helped you grow as an author?
I take more responsibility for my success, meaning I don't blame things when they happen. Like, I know that my reactions to things and my feelings about things and how I look at things, my point of view, affects things and my success in such a big way that, yeah, circumstances are going to happen. I was just talking to Katy off the air today as I was getting ready to start my day. We found lice in the kids' hair. And, you know, I think years past, I would have been like, oh, this sucks. It's so terrible. I'm picking nits out of a kid's hair. And parts of me, like, there were parts of the day I was like, well, this sucked. But there were also parts where I'm like, I built my business in a way that I could do this and take care of my daughter when she needs me. And we still, the dollars and cents still went in a positive direction today. And I was still able to come record this episode and do all of these other cool things. And that is the life that I built. And that is the life that I intended on. And one of the benefits of that is, yes, when there are crappy circumstances that do eat up a good 6 straight hours of time, it is not the end of the world because of all the good things that have happened to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's learning to let. I think I would have found so stressful a few years ago, you know, like, oh my goodness, like, I've got so much to do and stuff. But now you can just kind of take a breath and be like, okay, well, what can we get out of this? You know, like, I get to spend a bit of time with my kid while I'm picking lice out of their hair, you know, or whatever it is. Like, it's just trying to find something positive out of each experience.
She is so cute. Just like, we had her do some virtual learning and she's like, Daddy, look at this multiplication problem and all that. And it's like, she wants me to be there and I'm there.
Exactly. She's never going to look back and be like, yeah, I didn't really see my dad much when I was growing up.
She'll be like, oh, saw a whole lot of my dad growing up. So Katy, we've already talked to this to a certain extent, but you've mentioned studying Renee Rose's work on mindset, on manifestation. Like, is there something you haven't brought up yet that is like a way that you feel like her work has helped you change how you think about success?
I think her work was the first thing I started with, and then I've read a lot more and done a lot more as well.
Oh, she was the gateway.
She was the gateway. She was my gateway. I think she made me realize that success is within my grasp, like success is possible.
Yeah.
And because I think I'd gotten to that point where it's like, I've got no control and I just can't get my books to sell anymore. It's too hard. I was kind of in that sort of funk, and and she just made me realize that I don't have to stay there and I don't have to be afraid. And that I've been given this passion for storytelling and writing for a reason. And I don't have to give that up, and that there's still a way forward. And so it just sort of helped me get out of that negative gray kind of, down on myself funk, to going, I can be successful because I want to be successful and because I'm worthy of being successful and I'm good enough to be successful. And it's just really changed my life in that regard. About sort of, I'm working on everything. Like I have a lot of digestive body issues because I'm allergic to like everything. I'm intolerant to a lot of things, so my diet is very restricted, and it's really easy to hate on my body, like, oh, my body sucks. So now I'm working on that. Now I'm working on learning to appreciate and love my body, because without my body I wouldn't be able to write. Without my fingers I couldn't type and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just learning that success in all areas of life is possible, and I think manifestation and law of attraction, all that kind of learning I've been doing is really helping me get to a positive place. And our money situation has turned around from like living from paycheck to paycheck to now actually, I mentioned before that we're going to actually pay off one of our mortgage debts. When my paycheck comes through on the 30th, it's going to be pay off one of our mortgages, which is so exciting.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's very cool.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. You got a question for me?
Yes, I do. Oh, sorry. If you could recommend one woo-woo book for authors to read, what would it be and why?
I'm going to give them like a nice ease into it. Because I've read some weird ones. I've read some channeled ones. I've read some ones that talk about, all sorts of interesting things. One of my first books that I read that introduced me to the general concepts of woo-woo without necessarily going too deep into woo-woo was Happy for No Reason by Marcy Shimoff.
I love that title.
It's classic. I know. It's great. It's classic. It taught me the idea that part of happiness is just when things happen to you. Like, that's going to affect your happiness. But there's so much that you get to choose and you get to work on, and you can affect your happiness in the moment so that when circumstances happen, it's not so defeating. And I didn't even know that concept. I didn't know that. Nobody had ever told me. Just like, oh, I can be happier if I work on it. This is news to me. And then that I followed into other books and other resources. But that was like the first one. I spoke with her once upon a time, and she was super woo-woo and talking about Vedic philosophy, and it was amazing. I still don't remember how I even got her on the phone, to be honest. But like, she was so cool, and reading that book was my gateway into a lot of things. But it's not very woo-woo itself. It has all these really cool lessons and really cool ideas of how people who've really had life crap all over them, it's helped them to learn how to still have gratitude and still have success. And so that was kind of my recommendation for people.
That's good. It's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Last one of the lightning round. Last of these episodes we're recording here. So, Katy, what is one piece of advice you'd give to an author who knows they know they need to work on their mindset, they know they need to work on their self-belief? What is one piece of advice you'd give them?
Oh, it's hard. Only one? I've got
I
like
know.
50
You can
billion.
give more than one if you need to. You can give more than one if you need to.
Well, a real game changer for me was taking Heather Hildenbrand's HEA Mastermind course. So
Love
if they're
that.
willing
Yep.
to, and it's not like stupidly expensive. Like I actually found it quite
No,
reasonably
I
priced and
actually
everything.
told
Yeah.
her she should raise her prices. To
Yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, I've told her that in the last week.
Yes, well, good, because it's so good. Like that, out of all the stuff that I've done, I found that one the most helpful. So if doing that course, I would say definitely worth it. And I'm actually doing it again. Like I'm up to doing it my second time because I want to manifest some new stuff. So I'm applying it to my all the stuff to do with my body and stuff. So I'm working on that now. And then also just like for me, what's worked for me is journaling has been really huge for me. So I've always got a book on the go. So I've read like You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, which is amazing.
Yep.
Riches F by Amanda Francis is also absolutely brilliant. And there's journaling prompts and stuff at the end of each chapter. So like every day I take about an hour of my day, which I never would have given up an hour of my day. But now I know that it is actually really important to my work. So I spend almost an hour every day just reading or watching another Heather video or whatever, and then doing some journaling. And that's been huge. And I've seen so many things manifested in my life since even just picking up that practice. And then, of course, the evidence journal is another thing I've added in as well. So those would be my little nuggets that come to me, but I've got like 1,000 more, but those are the ones that have been most effective, I think, for me.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, great resources there. The journaling consistently, and isn't it amazing that like we thought we had to work 10 hours, 12 hours a day, but if we worked 6 hours and did one of those hours devoted to our mindset, we, made 5-10 times more money.
Amazing,
It's
isn't
wild.
it? It's so simple.
It's wild.
So simple. Yeah.
I know. We need a question of the week. If you have something in mind, you can throw it in. I also have an idea.
Okay.
But
I've got one, so I'll share one, and
you
then
share
you
yours.
can share
You
yours,
share
and then
yours.
we can decide which one. My one is, what is the best like self-help or mindset book that you have ever read or come across? Because then that way we can all be sharing our resources and
I love that.
each other.
I'm gonna add the second part. My question will work with this question, which is, how woo-woo would you consider yourself?
That's good. I like it.
So what is your best mindset book you've ever read? How woo-woo would you consider yourself? You can answer the question of the week over at the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group or at sellmorebookshow.com. Go read Katy Archer's books at Katy, Katy, Archer.com. Go check out some of the resources she mentioned here today. Katy, I'm so glad we got to nerd out a little bit on talking about mindset.
Yes.
And it's been so fun. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I just love talking to you. You're brilliant.
Thank you. Same here. Folks, we'll have another great co-host for episode 575. That seems like a big number. I don't even know. I feel like we're pretty close to the 11-year mark. I'm pretty sure we're even past it at this point. I have no idea. We're real close. So we'll celebrate it at some point. But for Katy, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. And we'll talk to you next week for episode 575. Bye.
Bye.